Hello everyone, today I would like to share my review and my experience trying this Raw Acoustics T9X recently released a newly designed subwoofer with trickle down technology from upper range of the offering. So this one is featuring 10-inch raw acoustic drivers with this 10-inch passive radiator. Design of this T9X differently than many other subwoofer. This one is try to get best out of this enclosure acoustic suspension design like sealed subwoofer, but efficiency and deeper notes like ported design, so that way the passive radiator can be highly beneficial in that situation and probably less room gain compared to sealed design, no port noise at all compared to ported subwoofer enclosure. So this is the benefit of both sides of design in this subwoofer offering in modern day technology and all the features that you can have. Fit and finish and build quality is beautiful. Piano gloss like finish with really nice shine to it, nice looking, and enclosure is just a perfect size. So it's really nice design and probably one of the best built subwoofer that you can buy. So this one is solidly built design, and the design is purpose of using itself on the floor, so to get the best sound quality and best mix with your main speaker. This one doesn't have any DSP. Everything is pure analog and you have to fine tune it, whether you're gonna use software to fine tune it or just relying only on your ears and your hearing and your experience. So I went with both, as well as help from Raw Acoustics representative Paul. Before he comes in, I tune it to my liking, but the day that he's gonna come in, I turn everything back up, so I just leave it as is. So I want to see how they're going to tune it. Actual, my gain control position is like 11 ticks from the zero, and then crossing over around like 38 hertz range. So that is my optimal blending with my KF-R11 speakers. When he came in, he tuned it with his experience and it sounded really nice. Although slightly different than what I would prefer, but good time spending with him and enjoying our music and sharing our music together in my system. So he's a really cool guy. Thank you, Paul, for coming in and helping me set up and sharing information. Also, he mentioned that not to put these T9Xs on the isolation platforms or subwoofer platforms, because these passive downfiring passive radiators are designed to use conjunction with the your floor, and these footers or these subwoofer feeds are designed for the purpose as well. So when I fine tune the subwoofers, I start with the room gain based on where the room gain will start in this room. So basically this room is 19 feet long, then all the speakers and subwoofer facing that way, so that where the length should be calculated. So based on the speed of sound of like 1130 feet per second, sound can travel in the open space. So but in this kind of a room, it will only goes to half wave length. If you divide it with your length of the room, in this room I get like 28 hertz, so that's where the room gain will be start producing extra free bass in this room, which is good thing if you have a sealed design. Ported design may not have that kind of room gain unless you do the corner loaded placement. So that's the room gain that I keep in mind, and always fine tune it based on that, because when I measure the overall frequency response, combining these two sub with my KF-R11 speakers together from my listening position, using REW software. I don't heavily rely on measurement alone. I start with my hearing and my experience. So as soon as I set up the subwoofer, what I like to play is track like Moth the Cat or All a Dream. All a Dream is by Norah Jones, by the way. Moth the Cat is Donald, famous track that has the feature in the 5-string bass guitar. So those are the things that I like to start with, and I have a whole bunch of tracks that I use. So I play those two tracks to see how they blended together, how well they blended, and which one is pronouncing more, whether the speaker or the subwoofer. So that's how I will start. And then I play around with the placement. Usually I prefer straightforward position on these subwoofers, but with this KEF R11, with the size and everything, if I do a straightforward, the bass can be a little bit different than a little bit of a toe in. Paul did the same thing. He toe in along with the speakers. So Paul is from the Raw Acoustic representative, by the way. So those two tracks, I play with it and I fine tune it. So usually in this room, pairing with the KEF R11 speakers, this T9Xs, I started around like basically like 30 hertz, 35 hertz. Slowly, this volume control knob has a little tick on it. I can count it, 1 tick, 2 tick. That is really helpful, so I can remember it, how many ticks I went. So that's how I start tuning it. I like to start with the stereo tuning because I don't like to start with one channel each, because that's only when I fine tune it. I use it when after I measure it. So I fine tune it with the REW software as well as my hearing, as I mentioned before. So I started fine tune it with the stereo setup, both sub playing at the same time using those two tracks. Then when I get to the my preferred level of bass quality and bass what you're pairing with the R11 speakers, then I like to start measuring. So my measurements I took from my listening position. That's the measurement that I took playing with and without subwoofers. My adjustments and Paul from Raw Acoustic adjustment is just slight difference. Crossover point setting is not much different. His gain probably is slightly higher than mine. Mine is slightly like 3 ticks less than his tuning in my room. So that's personal preference. Both sound great, but based on my tuning and my preference, that's where I like and where I really prefer. The way that I like is I don't want to notice subwoofer at all. Probably all the guys, Paul is the same, but personally, I only want to hear R11 speakers. But when it's called for that low frequency extension, I like this T9Xs to answer for that. So that's why I always fine tune it really down low on the crossover point and based on the calculation with my room gain starting point. Room gain is not that important with this kind of enclosure design. It still affects probably a few dB, but not major issue like you may experience with sealed design. So this is really easy to fine-tune subwoofer. Perfectly fine-tuned subwoofer and these kind of stereo system will have really articulate deep bass and very musical notes that you will hear. So fine-tuning these subwoofer, and when I testing this combination with my KEF R11 speakers, these are the tracks that I use. So usually I start with this, when I start in auditioning, I start with the deeply disturbed by infected mushrooms. So because that they have a really tight and well-controlled response that we can truly hear it, whether you blend it nicely or the speaker and subwoofer are hearing separately. So that's the track that I really prefer, and or the recording is really good as well. And then I like to also listen to Dua Lipa track Don't Start Now, and then Earth Drums. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's a Chinese musician. So I will have all the names here. So that track is beautifully recorded track with percussions and drums and really, really deep notes that probably you will truly enjoy listening to your system. I believe his name is He Shen Tian, I believe. So I don't know how to say Chinese names. And then, of course, that All a Dream and Nora Jones, although it doesn't have deep, deep notes, but I like to have a uniformity and the articulate, very well responded upper bass notes that to see how well we blend it. So that's another track that I would like to recommend you. And then another one of my favorite track is her name is Lorena McKennitt, I believe. So the Gates of Istanbul, that's a track with a really good recording with very deep notes. So that is one must have if you want to test out how deep your system is playing and how well your stereo image is. And then the next one is, of course, the one that I play, Grandma by Murray Boyne. So that track is beautifully recorded, especially the intro part that I really love, because intro, the way that they record it left to right and center and left and center and right, then bass. So that kind of very well recorded music is truly noticeable when you perfectly fine tune it with any of your all of your components. And next track is the Heart by Bo Stiff Dream Machine. So I don't know if it's stiff or stiff, but so that track is beautifully recorded, and that is a really nice track to use as the reference track as well. And then, of course, next one is modern artist Billie Eilish. I didn't change my number to see how well and how good I blended even for modern day bass heavy recording. So those recording are a little bit overemphasis or overemphasized on the bass lower end. So when I use that kind of track, if the sub was pronouncing a lot more than the speaker is producing, so that's those sort of things that I like to mix around. So that track is very good as well if you want to find out how well you blend it and how well you mix these components together. And next thing is the Killing Me Softly by Ann Bissons. The reason I like that track is it has the acoustic bass. So that track play really nice and beautifully recorded track. So that is another track that I would like to recommend you. And next thing is, I don't know how to pronounce it. That is Matsma Scott by Mike. So I wouldn't have the name. That is a really good track too. Next one is the Moonlight on Spring River. So that is another Chinese musician. Her name is Zhao Kong. So I don't know if I'm butchering the names, but it has the really beautifully recorded music with very deep bass notes. So that is a good one to have as well. Another one is Mudslide. And next one is Moth the Cat by Donna Fagan. So that track is really good if you want to listen to really well recorded and mixed music with the 5-string bass guitar. And next one I like to use is the Brian Tyler music from Yellowstone TV series. The theme music is very well recorded, especially if you want to hear the modern classical music with very, very deep notes. That is a good track as well. And of course, my all-time favorite to test the lowest notes is the Rimshot intro by Erykah Badu. So that is one of my favorite track. More than anything, if you only want to hear and listen deep, deep notes. So that goes all the way down, low 20. So those are some of my favorite music that I use to fine tune and auditioning, pairing with this subwoofer in my system. So those are really nice track that I love listening to all the time. And another thing is this Raw Acoustic T9X LFE and this high pass can be connected at the same time, so it doesn't get in the way of each other. When you connect both high and LFE connection together, you can control them separately on the gain control as well, so which is a really good thing. You don't have to change your stereo setup and home theater setup. If you're gonna do a 2.2 setup, I will recommend you to put subs next to your speakers, whether you want to have it inside or outside. That is the room dependent, so it cannot be sure for everyone, but best thing to have it just put right next to speaker and slightly behind it. I put them about like 6-7 inches behind the front buffer of the speaker, so that way better integration together. This is the easiest one to fine tune it, because this passive radiator design. LFE mode, they sounded very nice as well, but I prefer getting the signal directly from my main amplifier to this T9X, so that way you get the same sonic signature from your main amplifier. So that's the reason I like to use high end. I really liked it, I really enjoy it, and I truly impressed with the way that it can produce a sound deep and rich, yet very articulate, very responsive notes. So that is a true highlight of these T9X subwoofers, and plus you got top-notch build quality. For the price, performance, build quality, and everything, these are probably one of the best that you can buy, if not the best in the price range. And in this video, you will hear the sound demo tracks while I look at you from EV Sense. So that track, the reason I use is that's the only thing that I can use for this kind of track. Otherwise, I have copyright issues and all the problem. So that track you will hear without the subwoofer and with the subwoofer. This one is totally capable of all the way down to upper 20 hertz and totally musical sounding, very good articulate bass quality that you will get in this price point. Highly recommended, my friend. Thank you for watching and happy listening.
Tell you why I blink. Whoa, now don't say nothing. Whoa, just let time pass. Whoa, just think of something. While I look at you. Oh, I love to look at you. What I think, give me the passion without the bleeding, and I tell you why I blink.